Hello, 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 hello. Welcome in. Welcome in. I am Lakeisha, and I am the founder of an organization called Take Your Mask Off. And we are here to empower, educate, and encourage individuals to be their authentic self. And I have the pleasure to bring you some encouragement tonight um, from the Grace for This page for unmasking and impacting mothers. And so tonight we're going to be talking about something that has been floating around for the last couple weeks, I guess you could say, maybe months. So we're talking about unmasking, right? We're talking about walking on our authenticity. We're talking about as showing up as your real self, right? And so, one thing that we need to learn how to do is we need to learn how to transition well, right? Transition is what we're going to be talking about. But while we're transitioning, we're going to be talking about releasing the idols. And sometimes we think of idols, or most of the time, I know I think of idols as people or places or even things, right? But have you ever thought about an idol being a habit, or thought about idols being your kids? Have you ever thought about that as an idol? And so that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Talking about idols and releasing idols in the midst of transitioning. And so we know what transition is. Transitioning is moving from one place to another. It can be a job, it can be a relationship, it can be a city. But when you transition, you move from one place to another, right? You move from one situation to another situation. And most of the time, all the time, sometimes it can be hard, right? Because we get comfortable in that place where we're at. We get comfortable of being, you know, a parent, or we get comfortable being in the workplace and being in our position that we've learned, that we strategized through. We got all our, nicks and crannies we know how to maneuver through. It can be hard when you're transitioning from a relationship to being single, or, anything that makes you move or forces you to move from one place to another. And so that's what we're going to talk about tonight, because in transitioning, we have to sometimes release some things. And the things that I want to talk about that we have to release tonight is idols. So idols are things that we place in our heart in front of God, right? Because we know that God is a jealous God, and so if we place those things in front of Him in our heart, well, they're just like concrete. He can't get in to give us a new agenda or a new way of maneuvering things. He's a jealous God, right? And that can keep us stuck. And so if you see me looking to the left, I'm looking at my notes because I don't want to veer off too far, because I really want to give you some good encouragement tonight about transitioning and releasing idols. Okay. And so we're going to be talking about the idols tonight. And like I say, idols we can form, and we can put them in front of God, in a sense of we're doing things in our own power. And so um one thing that I know that I had to release in my transitioning and my shifting in my elevating, because when transition comes, because God is a God that loves us and wants us to be successful, He transitions us up. He transitions us to a new position that's going to elevate us. And sometimes we have to leave some things behind. That could be people, that can be places, that can be things. And so tonight I want to talk about the idol of dun, 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 control. The idol of control. You say control? Yeah, control. Because sometimes when we have that idol of control, we go off our own knowledge, our own wisdom, our own way of doing things, right? And just talking about from a mother's standpoint, as a mother, we have been placed in a role of leadership. And so when we're in that role of leadership, we can tend to take that role and make it our thing, right? We can tend to uh do things our way that works for us, right? Because we have come up with ways that we have been familiar with that works for us, right? But sometimes that control can get the best of us. It can get the best of us, right? And so we have to understand that when we start to um, get put that role or that responsibility as a idol, right, or as a thing that's just concrete in our life, it can cause a lot of more things to happen. And one thing that can happen when we're trying to make everything happen, maneuver everything the way we feel that way we know it works, we can become anxious, right? We can have a lot of anxiety that rises up in us because now we're trying to do it in our own strength, right? We can't get the role of motherhood twisted with I'm doing what I think is best, the way I need to do it. Because we're always supposed to be going back and asking God, what do I need to be doing? How do I need to do this? Right. And so with that idol of control, we have to, if God is elevating us and taking us to another level, we can't be in control going from we're at the top, right, while we're transitioning, but now we're going to another level. And we might have to start at the bottom to go up. And we're necessarily at the bottom, you can't go in as controlling things, right? And so we have to learn how to say, okay, I'm going to trust the process, but releasing that control, it can cause anxiety, right? Because we've been doing this for so long, the way we know it works. And now we're in a position that okay, we're going in new territory we have never been in, that's untreaded, we've never been there, we never walked in that position now. And so we have to go in treading lightly and we can't go in controlling. And so with releasing that control, it can cause some anxiety, right? It can cause some anxiety, but that's when we have to put God back in his right position, the head of our life, and he's going to cause us to look at him and not our own ways, our own agenda, but looking at what he has us doing, how he wants us to do it. And if we surrender to him, the anxiety will kind of like, it will lessen, right? So again, in that transitioning of becoming new and becoming a different person and becoming in a different position, we have to release that idol of control. And I'm not sitting here telling you that it's easy, right? Because I've went from being a mother to now becoming an empty nester, and now I'm treading in new territory, and it's new. Have no idea what I'm doing on this side, right? On this side of motherhood, mine is motherhood, right? I'm still a mother, but I'm not that hands-on mother. So my normal that I was in control of, that I knew what I was doing, is no longer, right? And so imagine me having to revamp or having to be revamped into another way of living. I have to release control because I have no idea what I am doing on this side, right? And it has a lot of anxiety. But if I stay focused and I surrender the agenda to God, the anxiety kind of lessens, right? So that's one thing that we have to understand when it comes to releasing, when we're transitioning and releasing idols, is allowing God to be in control, releasing that control, right? Another thing that we have to do, and I already said, I'm going to just kind of reiterate it, is we have to trust God. We have to trust God when it comes to this transition and releasing control, because again, I don't know what I'm doing. This is all new to me, right? This is all new to me. And so by it being new to me, I have to trust God. And because I'm always that person that was in control, it can be a little bit difficult when I have to release all of it to him, right? And just trust his process because he knows what's best for us, right? And so also understanding that it's not our responsibility to be in control of everybody else. It's just not. And so we have to understand that. Again, releasing that control, knowing that we know that God got all in control. We know that he knows what's best for us. He says to lean on not to lean on our own understanding, but to acknowledge him in everything, and he will direct our path, right? So we have to understand that. We have to understand that we're not in control. We're really not. We might think we are. But now this is testing the lines of control. New territory, we're not in control. So why not trust him even more on this side of surrendering, right? And so knowing that, we have to understand that just because we're not in control or just because we're not in the capacity where we feel like we're in control does not mean we're less than. Because when God is shifting us, that means he's taking us higher, right? He's taking us to a different level where we're going to learn different things, new things. We have to leave some of that old stuff behind us so we can go into the new, right? And so doing that, it can be a little uneasy. It can be a little uneasy. And so that's what I want us to understand tonight, that just because we're not in control does not mean that we don't know what we're doing. We're just doing things a little bit differently. And we have to trust the process, that we have to let God lead us through all of this. Is it easy? No, it's not. It's not. However, when we release it, it can be easier. And we can just kind of, like, I call it free falling, just free fall and allow God to do it. And we just go along for the ride, right? And again, when you've been in that position of responsibility, having things the way it works, and then moving forward, it can be a little uneasy, but you can do it. So I'm encouraging you tonight to remove the mask, right? And so there's some questions to reflect on. What am I trying to control that belongs to God? Then we're transitioning, right? And things are going to be different. So, what are we trying to hold on that already belongs to God? Think about it, right? Another question: what fear is underneath the control? Why do we feel like we have to be in control? Huh? I don't know. We can explore that. It's a lot of different things. Disappointment, abandonment, rejection, all those things cause us to want to be in control sometimes, right? But at the end of the day, we're really not in control. And we have to understand that. So we have to work on all of that so we can release that control, to remove that mask of having to be in control all the time, to make sure everything is being held together. That's a lot of weight. That's a lot of weight. So again, why do we feel like we need to be in control? What is underneath that control? Think about it. Another question: what would trusting God look like in any situation that you have to release control in? What would it look like? Be a little scary, a little uneasy. But again, it's not impossible, right? We have to understand that when we're transitioning, we can't do things the way we used to do. We can't do things the way we used to do things, right? We can't carry those old ways into a new territory, a new elevation, a new situation, right? And also, when we're doing that, we know that God got us. We know that God's not going to let us fail. But in order for us to go higher, we have to allow the dead stuff, the stuff that's not working anymore, the new methods, the new ways, right? We have to let all that go to gain new um, new ways, right? New methods. Because I used to do it like this, but now I'm going over here trying to do it the same way. And I'm frustrated because I'm trying to bring the old way into the new territory, because I want to be in control, because over here it worked. It worked over there. But now over here it's not working, and I'm getting frustrated because I need to be in control. So we have to make a decision. Do we want to be easy at ease and not be in control, or be in control and try to make it work? What is it that tells us that we have to be in control? And that idol, that being in control is an idol, because we're gonna put things in front of God and tell God, this is the way I've always done it. So I'll keep doing it like this. But again, God is here to help us. So we have to allow him to help. Again, lean not to your own understanding. Allow God to come in to be able to give us new ways to do new things, releasing the idol of control in the midst of transitioning, right? Sorry about that. That's sorry about that, y'all. I'm so sorry. Um sorry about that. But again, having to do things differently, right? Having to do things differently in order to get something different. And that's going to cause us to have to transition into new ways. And one thing that we have to release is that control, right? And so I just want to leave you with this one thing, this last thing that we're talking about, the idols of control, right? Idols of control can keep us stuck. Idols in control can cause us not to elevate. Idols of control can cause us to miss our blessing because we're trying to do things our way, the way we used to do things. In transition, we have to release in order to get, right? We have to release our old ways. We have to release our old thinking. We have to shift our mindset. We have to do a lot of things differently. And one thing we have to do is not try to take the old into the new. The Bible talks about putting old wine and new wine skins. It's just not going to work. Right? It may work for a little while, but the frustration is going to set in because God is trying to do us get us to do things differently, and we have to also allow ourselves to surrender to that shifting. And again, it's not going to always be easy, but in order for us to heal, in order for us to learn, in order for us to gain wisdom, in order for us to surrender to God, we're going to have to do some things that we don't feel comfortable doing, right? Walking in uncharted territory. It's not always good. Going into a new, shifting into a new relationship, starting over again, resetting, all of those things is a transition. And 9 times out of 10, in those transitionings, we're going to have to do things a whole lot different than we had to do before. It's a learning curve. But again, we cannot tell God, I'm going to do it the way I used to do it when He's trying to put us in a new position. Releasing that idol, releasing that control, releasing the mindset of not wanting to do things differently will keep us stuck, right? So transitioning while releasing the mask, excuse me, while releasing the idol of control. Transitioning while releasing the idol of control. Allowing God to take over and really let your life flourish into this new season. Again, in that transitioning, we're going to grieve some things. We're going to grieve some things. I'm an empty nester now, right? I'm an empty nester, and I'm used to having my kids here when I'm managing their days and telling them what to do and how to do and encouraging them and all those things. I'm breathing. It's new, right? It's new. But guess what? It's okay. It's okay. So, again, what is the reason why you don't want to release that control? What's underneath it? What's underneath that control that you just don't want to expose, right? And what would it look like if we allow God to really take control of the situation? What does it look like? Again, it's okay. It's okay to remove that mask. It's okay not to have it all together. It's okay not to have all the answers. It's okay. but we have to make the choice that we want to remove that mask and expose ourselves to say we don't really have it all together, but we really put on that persona like we do. But to elevate, we have to transition. And in transitioning, we have to release, releasing the idol of control, right? So the mask that we're releasing is, if I don't control everything, it will fall apart. That's the mask that we wear, right? Be honest. The mask that we wear is, if I don't control everything, everything is going to fall apart. But the truth is, God is in control, and I can faithfully do my part while trusting Him with the outcome. God is in control, and I can faithfully do my part while trusting Him for the outcome. That's it. Take the mask off so you can transition. Let God have that control. Release that idol. Don't allow ourselves to get stuck just because we want to be in control. Elevating, elevating, it causes us to have new territory. And we can't do the old thing in the new territory, right? So I'm Lakeisha, and I am the founder of the organization Take Your Mask Off, where we encourage, empower, and educate you to be your authentic self by removing your mask. And tonight we were talking about transitioning while releasing the idol of control. And like I always say, I am who I am and I love me. Take your mask off and become the best version of yourself. Until next time.
Hello, my name is Kenitra Moselle, and I am founder of a beautiful community called Grace for This. We are about women taking ownership of their wellness journey in 3 ways: personally, relationally, and professionally. I'm inviting you to be honest about your grieving experience, your healing experience, and then lastly, your building experience. You're going through this because you're graced for this.